Vulnerability is not something that gets talked about in training. We're told we need to be tough, strong, relentlessly stoic, bulletproof. But I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and maybe you should too. We've all been in relationships where we know we're taking a risk. Maybe you're very fully aware that you could get hurt, but you're doing it intentionally, walking into it with your eyes wide open, because there's someone you're interested in pursuing and you cannot engage without putting something on the line, without putting your heart on the table with full knowledge of the myriad of ways it can and has gone wrong in the past. Maybe you have. I certainly have. In fact, I wrote this video somewhat compulsively in the middle of the night just after I booked a cross-country flight to go and see about a girl.
I had to go see about a girl.
What does that have to do with training? One dominant narrative in today's fitness culture is the one of bulletproofing your body. Fitness routines are sold as armor that you put on to eradicate even the whisper of the idea that you could get hurt. But training to not get injured is fundamentally different from training to enhance your life. We lose something when we stick so closely to dogmas that encourage us to avoid risk in movement. Movement mirrors life. Movement is life. And if you're consistently defensive, worried about committing fully to relationships, creative work, or your goals, you're robbing yourself of the ability to fully explore what you're capable of. In training, if you're afraid to push yourself, commit to improvement, and lose yourself fully in that focus on task goal, you'll never go anywhere far or develop anything impressive. If you play not to lose, train not to get injured, and don't or can't enter relationships because you're afraid of getting hurt, I understand, but I pity you. What a bland and uneventful way to live. I'm not saying that losing, injuries, and heartbreak don't suck, and measures should be taken to protect yourself from each of these outcomes. However, playing to win or fighting for positive outcomes is a completely and fundamentally different paradigm than playing not to lose. Whatever game you're playing, you can't really play it without putting chips on the table. I've learned a hell of a lot from losing, probably 10 times more than I've ever learned from winning. Maybe it's because I lose a lot. I've learned a lot from injuries, especially ones that I thought I would never recover from. Through those injuries and that suffering, I created a method that's become a 250-page manuscript and the ability to help people with any injury or pain. My greatest skill was born from my toughest injury. And honestly, some of my greatest lessons have come from having my heart broken and breaking the hearts of others. As painful as it was, I became and am becoming a better and wiser person because of it. You know the surest way to shut down any likelihood of having a productive conversation? Just dismiss what the other person is saying because they don't know what they're talking about. Being unable to engage with the idea that you may be wrong or that someone may be telling you something that you haven't heard before or don't fully understand is a form of defensiveness and can decimate your ability to connect with and learn from others. In the modern day world of social media influencers and bulletproofing all your joints so that you can, quote, make it physically impossible to ever get hurt playing basketball,
I can easily get anyone's knee shins that are physically impossible to hurt from playing basketball.
I want to be a voice to speak out and tell you that it's okay to get injured. It's okay to lose. It's okay to have your heart broken. And if you can push through and put yourself back out there again in whatever it is you're doing, trust me, you will gain more than you ever had to lose. That's a small part of the beauty of vulnerability. The obstacle is the way. And while there are things you can do to reduce your risk of injury, there's nothing you can do to eliminate risk of injury. Just like how there's nothing that can eliminate heartbreak and loss. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you, and I will happily, personally, and publicly offer to demonstrate their susceptibility to injury at a joint and resistance of their choosing. Do you know why I can confidently make this declaration on a video that thousands of people will watch? Because I know anyone who has never been injured and actually believes that they can make your joints bulletproof, one, doesn't have a clue, and two, cannot be as good as I am at grappling. I'm not even that good at BJJ, but I have put all my chips on the table. I've rolled with Jiu-Jitsu world champions, CrossFit world champions, active professional fighters in the UFC, many of which were much bigger and stronger than me. If I was playing not to lose, I'd say no, that risk is too high. I only roll with people at or below my size or skill level, or even worse, avoid sparring altogether. But I've rolled with everyone. I've gone all out and I've done it for years, and I've paid the price for it. I've dislocated this finger, this toe, had a huge shoulder injury and acute but debilitating back injury from jiu-jitsu. I've also gained a level of skill that cannot be reached without an intensity that makes injuries like this, over time, a certainty. I've gained the confidence in grappling with and easily submitting people much larger, stronger, and more athletic than myself that I never would have achieved if I had just avoided that risk. If you want to get good, you have to put your chips on the table. And sometimes you're going to have to go all in. Say we have two people. One of them throws himself into something and loses, perhaps catastrophically, over and over again. But the other avoids the thing perpetually, just for fear of losing. Who's the real loser? Some of you are content or perhaps just too scared to try to leave your mark on the world, or even just your corner of it. But some of you want to make this place a little bit better than it would have been without you. For those of you, we're going to have to push through the suffering. It's an unavoidable part of the game if you're looking to grow and improve, and you need to grow and improve. In relationships too, I'm not the relationships guy, but I have really fallen in love with Brené Brown's writing on vulnerability. A lot of us, especially men, grow up thinking that strength and power come from having no weaknesses, from being perfect, Superman with no kryptonite. But Brené's work teaches us that real strength directly comes from and allows the ability to expose your weaknesses, to take off the armor, stop being defensive, and be vulnerable. Brené's research showed that shame is the ultimate enemy of happiness, performance, and quality of life. When you armor up, shame hides, feeds, and grows under that armor. But vulnerability, in the right context, eats that shame up like fire to paper. That's why I pity those who fight not to lose, train not to get injured, and love with their walls up and armor on. Because attempting to hide or eliminate pain from your life isn't strength, it's weakness. I'll leave you with an excerpt of the famous poem from Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Now, I actually wrote this script 4 months ago at the beginning of a new relationship. I had come to a crossroads and decided to commit. And I was too afraid and busy to publish or record this video. So what happened with that girl? Well, let me tell you. In a number of ways, it all went horribly wrong. Almost as badly as it possibly could have. I walked into what ended up being one of the most stressful, demanding, and painful periods I've ever had. But sometimes you're just in the right space at the right time. And I also probably ended up saving someone's life, sparing a close friend from a huge emotional hit, and had some of the best times of my life as well. I walk away now, deeply scarred, but wiser, with new skill sets in extremely valuable areas and emotional muscles I never would have accessed that I'll keep with me for the rest of my life. There are gems at the deep that can't be found at the surface. If I could go back in time, would I do it all again? Not in the same way. Part of me is still jealous of the strength, confidence, and naivete that I had when I wrote the original script. But I'll continue getting stronger again. And I don't know about you, but I'll never get where I want to go or be who I want to be if I'm not willing to take some hits along the way. If you're going to take risks, you're going to want what I call a foam pit. In gymnastics, a foam pit is literally a pit filled with foam blocks that you can jump, flip, or perform new skills into. If you're learning backflips by yourself on concrete, the downside in a worst case scenario is paralysis or death. It's unacceptable for me. I've literally seen a teammate break his neck. But when you learn skills above a foam pit, the worst case scenario, if you land on your head, is that you're claustrophobic for 30 seconds while you wiggle and writhe your way out. In a more metaphysical sense, a foam pit is something you can use or rely on to catch you in a worst case scenario, physical, emotional, financial, or other. In a movement practice, my foam pit is the mover's method that I created so that you can quickly and effectively solve any injury that you may encounter or have already encountered for free. Just watch that video, take good notes, and start getting to work. Or if you haven't seen Brené Brown's TED Talk, it's required reading. Subscribe.